high-speed rail. Sounds like a great idea, doesn't it? The problem is that when you look into the plans for HS2, the proposed Y-shaped network, you find that there's no business case, there's no environmental case, and there's clearly no money to pay for it. Put simply, HS2 is a politician's vanity project, a fast train for fat cats, and something that they're willing to commit the country to on an economic analysis that gives the back of fag packet a bad name. At a time of austerity and savage cuts, HS2 is going to make the Millennium Dome look like a duck house. And the worst thing is that there are rail investment alternatives which deliver more benefits to more people more quickly and cost less money, but they haven't looked at them because they want HS2, their shiny new train set. And this is exactly what Sir Rod Eddington warned would happen in his 2006 Transport Study to Parliament. But they didn't listen, and they don't want to learn from the mistakes of the past. HS2 is a 19th century solution to a 21st century problem, and it pays no attention to the significance and the development of the knowledge economy. The public consultation on HS2, as a result, is the biggest attempt at a stitch-up since the Bayeux Tapestry. So it's essential that people respond to the consultation by the 29th of July. And when I say respond, I mean you can answer the questions if you want, but you need to make sure you put in a letter denouncing the consultation as a shambolic farce and demanding a full public inquiry. Or saving that, take the cheaper option and just scrap it altogether. Looking at the consultation, without even mentioning HS2, the first question basically asks,
do you agree that having trains between cities is a good thing?
So basically, if you give any credence to the idea that trains between cities are a good thing, you've just said yes to what is question 1 in the HS2 consultation. It's to that end that in a couple of months' time, Philip Hammond, the Secretary of State for Transport, can get up and say, the vast majority of those responding to the HS2 consultation agree with our vision to enhance the capacity and performance of Britain's intercity rail network. The right answer, of course, is that transport solutions should only be put forward after detailed and careful cost-benefit appraisals, weighing them up against other projects with similar objectives, just like Rod Eddington said. Maybe it's worth mentioning Rail Package 2, which delivers more benefits to more people more quickly and costs less money. Rail Package 2, the alternative they ignored, more than doubles capacity on the existing rail network. And the government's own Sustainable Development Commission, which is due to be abolished in the cuts, says HS2 is far less effective than more local transport projects in cutting the need for travel. And they also say that HS2 will mean putting in a colossal subsidy to something which will only benefit the richest in society. Question 2 asks,
do you agree that a national high-speed rail network from London to Birmingham, Leeds and Manchester, the Y network, would provide the best value for money solution for enhancing rail capacity and performance?
So that's asking about the Y network. Now these documents are the appraisal of sustainability for just the London to Birmingham stretch. And believe it or not, all of this is inadequate because it's not a full environmental impact analysis. You get that after the consultation. And of course the full EIA will find out a load of things that will jack up the cost because it's doing the proper work. And other things that will jack up the cost will be when they figure out exactly where they're going to get all the electricity from. So, those documents are London to Birmingham. Leeds and Manchester from Birmingham, what you get is this. That's your lot. Now the reason they haven't given any details of how this gets past Staffordshire is because, well, besides the fact they haven't actually done the work yet, of course, is because that it will mean more people read the documents, they'll see that it's a badly thought out, bad idea, and they'll respond to the public consultation using the word no. To ask about the Y network in a supposedly unbiased public consultation when all you've got is this for 2/3 of what is meant to be the largest civil engineering project the country will ever have seen? To use this is an affront on democracy. Now, councils along the route have opposed HS2, but so have Coventry City Council, who aren't on the route. They've even threatened to take the government to judicial review over the idea that the government are saying, well, you'll have loads of benefits from this, so you're going to have to pay extra, despite the City Council's unanimous opposition to the project. And they've figured out a lot of things, including things like it will see the removal of the green belt, the massive Meriden gap between Coventry and Birmingham, and all of a sudden it's all Greater Birmingham. They've also figured out, unsurprisingly, that more local train services through the capacity released via HS2 means losing the trains you already have. Potentially 2 of the 3 trains an hour they have to London, which of course threatens the viability of the largest regeneration project in the city, a load of offices next to the station. And amazingly, the government seem to want to wave HS2 around like this magic wand that's going to suddenly transform the north-south divide. When all that's happened historically, since it's been quicker to get to London, is that people have found that it's quicker to get to London. And with 20,000, or almost 2/3 of the new jobs that HS2 is due to create being at Old Oak Common Station, all it might do there is cure a bit of the divide between the north of North London and the south of North London. With the other projected benefits, Philip Hammond, when he launched the consultation in February, he more or less said, well, a year ago we were saying there'd be £67 billion worth of benefits. Well, we've redone the figures, and it's 44! Yep, we've lost over 1/3 of the benefits, so full steam ahead. And those benefits are based on that well-known law of economics: time is money. Officially, according to the government, all time on trains is wasted, so they put a cash value on the time that you'll save by going faster, based on, well, slightly higher than national average wage. They then multiply that by a grossly exaggerated passenger forecast and times that by 60 years. 88% of the £44 billion worth of benefits comes that way, by the cash value of time. And for my 6-year-old son to live to see those benefits, he'll have to outlive my 78-year-old dad. And he'll be paying off the debts, the losses and the subsidies all that time. And the maths is right there, because you're going to have to wait 14 years before Birmingham joins Zone 3 of the Underground. Commuters before then, of course, have to look forward to 8 years, which is what it's going to take, apparently, to move every single platform and track into Euston, with the tracks finally ending up round about where the bus stops are now. What happens to the bus stops is anyone's idea. You know, it's not like we've got an integrated transport policy or anything. The other thing that, say, Birmingham commuters might want to bear in mind, and other people, as this thing is going north with not much of a plan, is that where they're building the Birmingham station near the airport, they'll have to, in the space of 2 miles, cross the A452, the A45, the M6 and the M42, with it crossing the M42 3 times more before it's even left Warwickshire. Now, there's a phrase for that, and that's traffic chaos. But how this rail project affects the roads, well, in terms of the CO2 brought about from that traffic chaos, forget that. They haven't even added in the CO2 emitted from constructing the project, but still have the audacity to punt it as carbon neutral. Now, going back to my son, he's grown up with computers since the start, so he isn't going to need high-speed rail. He's going to need high-speed broadband. That's the way to truly transform the economy, and communities and the environment will benefit, because you're cutting the need to travel to work. Laying a load of cables, it's not as sexy as a flash new train, is it? Now, since last year, they've moved half the route, and they've added a link to HS1 for the first section. But the cost of that first section is still 17.8 billion, and it's still on 2009 prices. Maybe the reason for that is that between 2006 and 2009 the cost went up 64% from 11 to 17.8 billion. The current 32.2 estimated cost for the entire Y network to Leeds and Manchester is round about what it was going to cost to get the whole thing to Glasgow and Edinburgh 10 years ago. And put it in perspective, that 32.2 billion today is worth more than the entire council tax bill for the entire country for a year. Question 3 asks if you should do HS2 in phases. So that's again probably a no. Don't bother at all. They also ask about a national network. Now this is not a national network. It is stations in 5 cities plus a further 4 airport parkway stations. And that's one of the things. HS2 is meant to be taking people out the road, off the roads, out the air, but you're going to have to drive to the stations, and it seems to connect a load of airports together, a bit like an international transfer hub would do. Question 4 asks if you agree with the principles underlying the HS2 route selection process. So the answer is no again there, because the only principle they used is a 250 mile an hour train needs pretty much a straight line. So they drew pretty much a straight line. Question 5 asks if the approach for mitigating the options is mitigating the impacts is the best option. Again, that's a straight no. On mitigation, the consultation itself says
mitigation options cannot be identified in full or committed to at this stage, since they rely on a design detail which has not been developed. For example, to design the provision of noise barriers alongside the route would first require assessments of the noise impacts.
So there they're saying we don't know. And the reason they're saying we don't know is that HS2 is effectively a Y-shaped runway with a land take in places wider than the pitch at Wembley from London to Birmingham, Leeds and Manchester. If a normal train is Lego, HS2 is mega blocks. And the consultation is effectively saying, mitigation, nah, we ain't done that either. So, have we done it right then? Question 6.
Do you wish to comment on the appraisal of sustainability of the government's proposed routes between London and the West Midlands that has been published to inform this consultation?
So, you've only got as far as Birmingham. It's not a full environmental impact analysis, and this is Appendix 6, the biggest document in the appraisal of sustainability, and this is typical of the errors, omissions and downright laziness of the HS2 consultation documents, because this is the biggest document and it compares a load of routes that they didn't choose with a route the majority of which they didn't choose. So I think the comment there is that ain't good enough. Now question 7 is about the compensation. Now there's already been one consultation on the compensation, and what this consultation on the compensation says is there'll be another consultation on the compensation. That will be 3 consultations on the compensation in 2 years. And this one will probably report after the whole thing's been to Parliament. So there we have it. The whole thing looks like someone has been doing their homework on the bus to school whilst dreaming of their shiny new train set. This is supposedly the largest civil engineering project the country will ever have seen. Surely that's worth a public inquiry. But no, that would show that it's an unviable, unsustainable waste of money. So surely just scrap it altogether. Go back to the drawing board. Think again. Thank you for watching. Please respond to the consultation by the 29th of July. Forward this video and look online for more information and things you can do to help stop HS2.